Greetings, welcome, and thank you for clicking. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing Company, encouraging your journey with Reiki, card reading, and coaching for life's changes, challenges, and transitions. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask the Stones, offering spiritual guidance and encouragement for life's challenging questions. Greetings, welcome, and thank you for joining me for this episode of Ask the Stones. This episode's question is from Rachelle. What do you think happens after we die? What do you think is the point of us being alive? Wow, Rachelle, you do not ask the easy questions, do you? This is like the ultimate question. Actually, in fairness, Rachelle, this is two questions that I think really have two different answers, or even maybe not. But I'm definitely going to address each of these, and I want to say thank you for asking the hard questions. These are very hard questions. And I do want to say right up front and be completely honest that I don't know the answers. I definitely don't know what happens to us after we die. What do I think happens to us? Well, sometimes I think that maybe we go to heaven. Sometimes I think that maybe we are reincarnated. Sometimes I think that maybe we become spirit guides. Sometimes I think that maybe it's just like sleeping, and it's just a permanent sleep. So I have to admit that even what I think happens after we die changes, that I really don't even have a specific permanent thought on what happens after we die. And this is really the kind of thing that I don't think any of us can ever really know until we die. Of course, there are people who have had near-death experiences, who have died, who have come back from that threshold and are able to comment on it, talk about it. And so you can definitely get their perspectives and thoughts on it. I'm going to say I'm very fortunate that I haven't been in a situation where I haven't come back from the dead. I also have not had a near-death situation, but I'm also thankful that I am still here and don't know exactly what happens after we die. And actually, we may never know, because it may just be just like sleeping. You're dead and that's it. I think one of the challenges that we have as human beings is really envisioning life going on without us, and death being just a permanent, we're dead and don't know it kind of thing, just like sleeping, except we don't wake up. I think that we as human beings struggle with that because we just almost can't fathom time going on without us, and that it's kind of too big to think of it in those kinds of terms. So, Rachelle, I really don't even know what I think happens to us after we die. And I think that I like to think that there's a heaven, and I like to think that we're all up there eating bonbons and watching our favorite reality TV shows, or whatever your vision of heaven is. I think for me, my vision of heaven would be doing some great hiking, sitting in the woods, probably sitting around some standing stones, some ancient structures, and maybe conducting some ceremonies at those standing stones. I think that would be some great heaven, enjoying the breeze and the stars and the sky. Wow, that sounds wonderful. Is that going to happen after I die? I have no idea. So I don't know what happens. And I think that This is the kind of question that humans have always asked. I think that those ancient peoples who erected those standing stones asked themselves that same question and wondered the same things: what happens after we die? And so I don't think that humans have ever or ever will have the answer. I think what's really interesting is that humans have the capacity to wonder that. And I wonder sometimes if other animals wonder that. Do trees wonder what happens to them after they pass away? Do they know that they're going to become ashes and return to the ground? So I think in that what happens to us after we die, metaphorical kind of sense, is a little hard to grasp. But I do know that what happens after I die is that I am going to turn into ashes and that I am going to be scattered to the wind, buried in the ground, or wherever. I do know that my physical body is going to turn into something else, that body is going to turn into something that is going to be returned to the earth. So I do know that. I don't know what happens to my soul, what happens to my spirit, if anything, but I do know that my physical body is going to return to the earth. And when I say return to the earth, that suggests that it is separate from the earth, but it's not. We are never really separate from the earth. It seems that way. We have the idea that it is, but we are of the earth. And so, yes, we're going to return to the ground, but we are already, always already part of the earth. And so we are going to still be a part of the earth when we pass away. So what do I think is the point of us being alive? When we think about things like death and what happens after we die, we really are thinking about what's the point of all of this and what is the point of life. And holy cow, such massive questions that, like I said, I know have always been asked from the beginning of humankind and may even be asked of animals. I don't know. I don't know exactly what animals might think, trees, plants might think about their earthly existence and what happens when they pass away. And by the way, whatever that might mean, because that might mean different things to different people, the expiration being the expiration of the body, the expiration of the mind, the expiration of the soul. And some might say the soul never expires, it never dies. So, wow, it's quite a layered kind of a question that really, it requires an inquiry into our own personal beliefs and our own personal feelings. I think, Rachelle, my question for you would be, what do you think? Because anyone's answer, truthfully, is just as valid as anyone else's. So a priest's answer is just as valid as a rabbi's, which is just as valid as someone on their deathbed, which is just as valid as someone newborn, which is just as valid as anyone else's on the face of the earth. So I think it's really most important for us to explore our own thoughts and feelings on it and to think about what it really means to us, what we think is going to happen when we die, and what we think the point of us being alive is. I think at the root of this question is a wondering of what is the point of my life? What is the point of me being alive? And what is the point of any and all of this? And, we can just get so very deep into that question, and we can actually even, I think, get bogged down in that question. If, Rachelle, I think we really sat and thought about this question, I think that we might just kind of go a little crazy. Or at least the potential is there, I think, for us to go a little crazy thinking about it and wondering what is the point, what happens to us after we die, and really being kind of concerned or worried or anxious about that, and then being concerned or worried or anxious about what we're doing here and why we're here. And oh my gosh, what is the point of my life? What is the point of any of this? I think that not just quote unquote spiritual seekers, but all human beings ask this question at one time or another, or again and again, and that we all explore it to varying extents. And that this is a question that I think that is a recurring question that we all come back to in our lives again and again, to varying extents. Now, as far as the question of what do I think is the point of us being alive, I think, Rachelle, for me personally, that I have come to the conclusion, I don't know what happens to us after we die. I don't know whether it's just sleep or we're reincarnated or we go to heaven. I don't know. But I think what I have come to the conclusion of that I do know is that the point of us being here, the point of us being alive, is to love. That love is what it's really all about. That we love ourselves, that we love one another, that we love the earth, that we bring love into an increasing number of moments in our lives, that we allow love to guide us, that we lead with love, that when we ask questions, no matter what the questions are, that we are answering with love. And so I will say, Rachelle, that when we are asking these questions, these hard questions like this, what do you think happens after we die? What do you think is the point of us being alive? That the answer is love. And a true love, not the idea of love that we kind of throw around like, oh, I love this, I love that, I love you, I'm in love with you, which oftentimes isn't actually love anyway. But that we strive for a love that transcends boundaries, a love that transcends the self, a love that is lasting and eternal. That is no small thing, Rachelle. And let me tell you what, I ain't there. I'm striving to bring love in all of my experiences, to all of my moments, to an increasing number of moments. But I can tell you that to bring a true and encompassing love to all moments of my life is not an easy thing and is not something that I am doing. It's something that I'm trying. It's something that I'm striving for. But it's not something that I think I'll ever get to be a true being of love in all moments. I don't know that I will ever get there. And I think that part of the journey is an acceptance of that. I actually think that part of love is an acceptance that I'm probably, as much as I try, not going to be completely loving in all moments. And being aware of that and accepting that and being compassionate with myself in that. So I think, Rachelle, the point of all of it is love. I think one thing I can tell you, Rachelle, that I really believe that my life purpose is to encourage. This is what I have determined I am here to do, is to encourage, and that I am here to encourage us to encourage one another. So I'm here to encourage others along their journey, to encourage their path, to encourage others through their life changes and challenges and transitions. This is what I know I'm here to do. And I also feel called to help encourage us to encourage one another. I do believe that we spend so much time and energy criticizing one another, judging one another, and being down on one another, when I think what we all really need more of in life is encouragement. That we all really need to be supporting one another and encouraging one another, to be lifting each other up rather than putting each other down. And so that is my purpose. That is what I am here to do. And that is how I see the greater purpose of love playing out in my life. So the way that I express love, the point of being alive is love. And the way that I express that love, the way that I see myself best fitting into that idea of love at this point in my life is encouragement, and encouraging one another, encouraging others, and encouraging us to encourage one another. So this is really where I see myself with my point of being here. My point of being here is to love, and the greatest expression of that, the way that I'm expressing that right now, is through encouragement. And that to me is so very important. That is why I'm here. Is that going to end when I die? I don't know that. Rachelle, I don't know if I will be encouraging others as a spirit guide, or if I will be reincarnated and encouraging others as the family pet, the dog, giving love in that capacity. I don't know if I might just be sleeping. I don't know what's going to happen after I die. But I do know that what I am doing while I am alive in this shape, in this form, in this lifetime, in this way, is encouraging. It is sending out loving kindness. It is increasingly to be loving and striving for love. It is increasingly to be working on compassion and being compassionate. It is increasingly to encourage one another in our journey. And so that is what I see as my point of being alive. I think that is something that we really have to explore for ourselves and to determine for ourselves, because ultimately we really can't know the answers to these questions. These are questions that I think we, in a sense, need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that we need to get comfortable with not knowing the answers, and to live our lives in such a way that is increasingly loving, compassionate, encouraging, and knowing that, let's be real, it might all be for nothing. At least in terms of death. If death truly is just sleeping and nothing happens when we die, and it's just like sleeping, we go in the ground and that's it, done. That might make us feel kind of defeated and kind of like, oh, what's the use? What's the purpose? But I truly do believe that there is purpose while we are here. That yes, maybe we do just die and that's it, and nothing happens after we die. And yet I do believe that we can still decide to live in a way while we are here that is loving and helpful, compassionate and hopeful, a way that works to release judgment, a way that works to encourage ourselves and each other, a way to live in a way that builds awareness and connection and meaning, so that even if there isn't a meaning to it all, meaning that we die and nothing happens, that we can still find meaning in our experience while we are living it, while we are experiencing it. I do truly believe that we can find, create meaning, that we can create awareness, that we can create connection, even if this is, quote, all there is. Yes, I do believe that there is always more, and that more centers on a deepening of awareness and meaning and connection, a deepening of our spiritual sense of self in terms of love and compassion, releasing judgment, and, as is with my purpose, encouraging each other. Wow, Rachelle, well, thank you for this question. The truth is that I don't have anything else to say, because this really is something that I think is so personal to each of us, and that is so important for us all to consider for ourselves, and to varying degrees. I don't think there's anything wrong with not asking these questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with not asking the deep questions of what happens after we die and what is the point of being alive. Yeah, I think that all humans have asked themselves these questions, and that we all ask them to varying extents, and that it's even okay to not ask these really deep questions. And it's okay to ask them again and again and again. And I think it's about that releasing of judgment, even in terms of the asking of these questions and whether they get asked or not. Whoops, here we go. As the cards fall, one has come right out. Out has popped the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands is very confident. Now, what I'm picking up from this card is the idea of carrying on. She looks very queenly, as one might expect of the Queen of Wands. She looks very confident. She's looking into the distance, and what I'm getting from this card is almost like a soldiering on kind of impression of hey, I am moving forward. I am moving on. I am carrying on. And the idea of moving forward confidently. So I don't think, Rachelle, that we can have the definitive answers to these questions. And I think that the Queen of Wands is saying, yes, and power on. As a matter of fact, I'm getting the keep calm and carry on kind of thing of Queen Elizabeth. This meme, this saying that is so popular right now. Keep calm and fill in the blank. I'm getting that strong impression from this card. That, yep, this is it. Here we are, moving forward, moving on, proceeding, hazard yet forward, or actually more like damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead kind of thing. Yep, we are confident, we are cool, we are calm, we are collected, and we are moving on. So thank you, Queen of Wands. I also want to say, Rachelle, that as I was shuffling, I looked down, and lying there at the top was the Strength card. I kept shuffling, looked down, right there looking at me was the Strength card again. And so I want to say that I think the Strength card is calling to us as well, and calling to us at this time to find our own inner strength, and to that idea of carrying on and being strong. And, I do want to say something about strength here. Oftentimes we think that strength is all about an emotional strength, is all about not acknowledging our feelings and even ignoring or not asking the hard questions. And I want to say that I don't believe that. I don't believe that emotional strength or strength itself is a let's just ignore our feelings and carry on, but rather let us recognize them, let us explore them, and let us proceed. So keep going, in other words. Let's pull an Archangel card. And let's see what the archangels might have to say about your question, Rachelle. Oh, yes. Thank you, angels. Compassion. Archangel Zadkiel says, soften your heart with respect to this situation and all the people involved, including yourself. Yep. What I'm picking up here, Rachelle, is maybe almost a sense of defeat, almost a sense of, what's the point? Like, what happens after we die? What is the point of us being alive anyway? What is the point of all of this? And I think that we can really get caught up in feelings of defeat. And what is the point? And why am I here? Why are any of us here? And what is this all about? And it can feel very defeating and maybe even make us not want to get out of bed. The angels, I think, are calling upon us to show some compassion towards ourselves. So to be compassionate with ourselves when we have these kinds of questions. And to exercise compassion with ourselves, to know that we can't have all of the answers. Humans, we really like to have all the answers. I mean, look, my question, my podcast is Ask the Stones. I'm answering questions. I like to think I have all the answers. I don't. We like to think we have all of the answers, and we don't. And these are the kinds of questions that really remind us and say to us, hey, human beings, you like to think you have all the answers, but guess what? You don't. And what is the answer to that, Rachelle? It's compassion. Just being compassionate towards ourselves, recognizing that we don't have all of the answers and that that's okay. That we don't have to have all of the answers. And as a matter of fact, we can't have all of the answers. And to be understanding of ourselves for that and compassionate of ourselves and of one another. To know that we can't know everything. And right here is proof. Right here is the proof that we don't have all of the answers. So I encourage us to be compassionate of one another, to be compassionate of ourselves, for sure. And Rachelle, to be compassionate of yourself if you are feeling like, what is the point of all of this? What does it even matter? Sometimes we might feel like that. And that's an okay feeling to have. It's okay to feel that feeling, to have that feeling, and to know that life does continue, life goes on. So actually, we can choose to continue to show up, or we can feel those feelings of self-defeat. Either way, life is going to continue. So we can continue it with creating meaning, or we continue it with a feeling of meaninglessness. And I think that's a choice that we make. And so when we ask these questions, we have a choice to make, either to allow these questions to really have us feeling self-defeat, or to say, yeah, I don't know all the answers, and I am going to power on to be the Queen of Wands and continue on. So, Rachelle, as I was talking, I pulled a rune, and this is the rune of flow, which is actually rather appropriate to go with the flow here. To say, yeah, we don't know the answers. Yeah, we don't know what happens after we die. Yeah, we don't know what the point is of us being alive. But guess what? We're going to go with it. We're just going to go. Here we are. We are here. And we're going to go. We're just going to keep going with it. And we're going to find the answers for ourselves as best we can and go with the flow and acknowledge that we're never going to have all of the answers. So, for me, I might say, yeah, I believe that our point of us being here, the reason that we're here is to love. But then that opens up a whole bunch of questions of what is love and what does that mean and love how, and are you sure, Christian? It might not be that. And what is love anyway? Isn't that just a human thing? And there are more than humans on this earth. And yes, all of those questions. And to go with the flow anyway. I'm going to pull one more card, Rachelle. And I'm going to pull a Breathe Easy card, a mantra for us when it comes to these major, huge questions. So let's see what kind of a mantra we might have, what kind of thoughts we might have for focusing in at this time on a word, a phrase, something to guide us. Sometimes some people might think that we're just here to have fun and we're here to enjoy ourselves. Yeah, that might be the case too. Sometimes some people might think that we're here to suffer, that life is suffering. Yeah, I've heard that too. I think that life is both joyful and challenging. I think that life does have experiences of suffering and that it does have experiences of joy. I think that any life has all of those things, that no life is without suffering and no life is without love and joy, and that these are a part of the human experience. Yes, out has come, I am grateful. When we are grateful for the many blessings in our life, angels send us more of them. I breathe in the appreciation of all that I have and all that I give. I am filled with thankfulness for this day, a chance to bless and be blessed. I breathe out in gratitude. This is perfect because I was also about to say that I do think that when in life we are having moments of suffering and moments of joy, we are going to have all of those in life. And we can ask these large questions of what happens after we die and what is the point of us being alive. And I think that ultimately living in the moment can really help us with that. And living in the moment can really help us with those feelings of anxiety or worry, or focus on what happens after we die. I think the antidote for that, or maybe not the antidote, because that suggests that it's a bad thing to think about what happens after we die. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But I think maybe to help us not focus on it to our detriment, when we focus on it all of the time, constantly, and it keeps us from living, that's when I think it's a detriment. That we focus on what happens when we die to the point that we're not focusing on the living, that's when it's a detriment. And I think the antidote to that is focusing on the moment and bringing ourselves to the present moment and focusing in on the here and now. And I think that one of the absolute best ways to focus in on the moment is gratitude. I do also think that another great way to do that is the breath, but absolutely gratitude. So thinking of things that we are grateful for in this moment at this time. You know, we are going to die. We are all going to die. It's actually sometimes maybe a scary thought when we really think about it. We are going to die. The world is going to go on without us. We are going to cease to exist in some way, shape, or form. Again, what you believe is your own way of believing. And so you may believe that we go to heaven. You may believe we reincarnate. You may believe we turn into mushrooms. You may believe in all or none of those. But what I do believe is that no matter what you believe, gratitude can really help us to focus in on the present moment, to bring us to the here and the now, so that we don't spend so much time thinking about the what happens when we die question, that we miss the now, that we spend so much time thinking about what happens when we die that we get to our deathbed and say, oh, I wish I had spent more time living, rather than worrying about this. So I want to encourage all of us to think about the here and the now. You know, Rachelle, maybe the point of us being alive is to focus in on the moment and to focus in on the here and now. And the point is not to worry about our deathbed and what happens when we die, what happens at that moment or afterward, but rather to focus on this moment and the here and the now. Wow, Rachelle, this is a lifetime of questions right here. And I thank you for presenting them. I thank you for bringing them to me so that we could discuss them on Ask the Stones, where I like to think I have all of the answers, but I do not have all of the answers. And certainly none of us do, because these questions are absolute proof that we do not. Thank you, Rachelle, for this wonderful reminder that none of us have all of the answers. But I know that I am going to continue to encourage. I'm going to continue to bring compassion and love to as many moments as I can. I'm going to work to continue to release judgment and to work to continue to encourage everyone's journey to the best of my ability until that point when I am no longer able and no longer can, however that looks, whether that means I'm making mushrooms in the ground, or I am in heaven eating bonbons and watching reality TV, which, by the way, is not my view of heaven, but it's kind of funny to think of. It's someone's view of heaven, and that is okay. No judgment. Or does it look like me coming back as a spirit guide? I don't know. But I do know that I'm going to continue to love, to strive to be compassionate, and to strive to encourage your journey. So thank you so much. Again, I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing Company, encouraging your journey with Reiki, card reading, and coaching for life's changes, challenges, and transitions. Thank you, and best wishes for your journey. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ask the Stones. If you have a question for Ask the Stones, please send me an email at christian@standingstoneshealing.com or connect with me on Facebook at Standing Stones Healing. Thank you, and best wishes for your journey.